Today we're taking a look at the hardware that is required to put together a Foxfire version 1.1 blaster. And so starting off, I want to go through here, and what I want to do is just talk about each of these pieces of hardware, and I want to talk about what they're for, and also I'll provide links down in the description below to the location of, or to where I purchased each one of these. So first of all, and kind of maybe the most obvious, is the screws. And to put together a Foxfire blaster, you need about 25 of them. That includes the motor cage and putting all the different shell pieces and everything together. And so these are, and I don't have the specifications in front of me, but they are a higher end screw, and I like that because you take them in, you put them in, you take them out, you put them in, take them out. Eventually you can kind of wear the heads out with the Phillips ones, but these are a higher strength steel, so they just don't wear out. I paid a little bit more for them, but they were definitely worth it. Moving over, this little spring here is for the mag release, not for the lever, but for the wedge that goes in. So if you know the mag release on the receiver is a two-piece system where you've got a lever that then actuates a wedge, and that wedge is what locks it in. This is the spring that returns the wedge and presses it in and keeps the magazine in place by sliding the wedge into the little slot of the magazine. The next one here is the return spring for the dart pusher, and this one goes back into the core. It hooks onto there's a nub in the back of the blaster's back in the stock attachment point, and then hooks onto that return. So when you pull the trigger, this is the spring that pulls it back. Moving on to here, we've got this is for the battery door. There's a little tiny hex nut, and I want to say it's a 5/16. I'll have it in the description and make sure that what it is. And it goes in that little slot that the battery door screws down into. There's a little slot, a little hex slot that this screw drops in. When I install this, I generally put a little drop of super glue right on top of that nut, and then screw it in. That locks it in there, makes it really permanent. And then the thumb screw here matches the threads on that, and that's what you screw down to get into your battery. The final pieces of hardware that I've got here are the XT60 connectors. You can use whatever type of connector and whatever type of battery that you're dropping into. You're obviously going to have the male end of that connector. But I use XT60s, and the slots are designed to be big enough going through the receiver and that wire channel that the XT60 can slide right in there, so you have plenty of space for wire and for connectors. And so with the builds, I end up using 2 male and 1 female XT60 connectors. The female goes on into the core, and that runs out toward the motor. And then the 2 males, 1 male is for the battery, and the other one goes into the motor housing, and then connects it back into the female that runs through, so that you can easily detach the front of the blaster and pull it apart and slot, and then plug another one in. So again, this, is the hardware, that used to put together the Foxfire, and these are specific to version 1.1. Specifically, the springs have changed. There'll be a description down in the description blocks. There will be links to where I purchased each of these components. Thanks for watching.